I know some of you guys probably didn't expect me to make a video like this, especially I have plans on making September's schedule a lot less uploads and stuff like that because of my exhaustion that I did in general in my July and August schedules. But after thinking about it more by time, I honestly think that making these videos is honestly the perfect choice on regarding Grogar probably gain some serious development with a question mark in Generation 5 if he does appeal. So, what do I actually have to think about Grogar himself? Well, we all know that he was Discord the entire time, and I am going to mention Discord several times in this video, mainly that he's actually important in this video. He's actually something that should be brought up in this, since that he was Grogar the entire time. I honestly think that Friendship is Magic really missed the biggest finale that could have been a lot more better than the finale that we got. I'm not talking about the final episode, I'm talking about the ending of the end climax. So, I honestly think that the villains that we've seen in Friendship is Magic, despite being a lot more crazy and more insane, none of them are even compared to Grogar. Since that he is supposed to be one of the most intimidating villains who is supposed to take some of the stuff seriously, well, not some of the stuff, but everything he said seriously, you really think that the finale of Season 9 will probably be really unpredictable. Something that you will probably expect Grogar to do something very intimidating and also make a very powerful reign against Celestia and the other characters. But then, when we saw the ending of the end, it was unpredictable, but not in the way that we actually thought. And you probably know what I mean. But ignore all that. I think that what they're going to do in Generation 5, they're not going to make the same mistake like they did in Generation 4. Since that Generation 5 is going to be mainly adults, and how it's going to care them more than what they did in the old generation, which was Generation 4, I'm pretty sure that they're not going to make the same mistakes that they did involving Grogar in Generation 4. Because as far as I'm concerned, the backlash that the creators had, I do understand what they're feeling, but at the same time, it's mostly their fault, since that they completely exposed the fact that Discord was Grogar the entire time. I'm sorry, but that backlash was just something that I don't usually condone with, but from what I've seen involving Discord doing all this, that's the backlash that they need to actually notice instead of just completely get confused about it. I'm sorry, but they really need to actually think about what they're supposed to do and actually think of the fans of what they want to see involving Grogar. I can only assume that the reasons onto why they didn't make Grogar the main antagonist in the Season 9 finale is mainly the fact of how Generation 1 Grogar isn't really what people usually like from the older generations. Granted, it's all from debate, but I honestly think that when they return Grogar in Generation 4, you would actually see some kind of interesting development, which they did a good job. But I can't stop saying the same thing again and again, so let's just get this over with. So as you can tell, I really hated everything on what Discord did in this. But if there's one thing that I have to admit, it's the fact that Grogar made his first appearance on the final season of this show. If this show did have 10th season, they will probably put more development on his character on how he actually become really menacing so that the other characters will be aware of his appearance. But since that we heard that there was not going to be a 10th generation, they really had to do what they did the weakest thing by having Discord be Grogar the entire time. However, this doesn't fix the issue. Mainly the fact that Grogar is one of those villains from the older generations that are mostly something that people don't usually talk about until we see Grogar heal. If we see returning characters from the older generations, mainly Grogar, we might have some interesting topics of what we can actually see in the Grogar's character. And believe me, I honestly think that they did a really good job on his character development in the earlier seasons, in the final season of the show. But what they did just doesn't usually change it. So I honestly think what they're going to do with Generation 5 is still have him intimidating, but also be the main villain. If you couldn't tell, we all know that there's so many villains in Friendship is Magic. And if you want to count the silent ones, which is mostly Equestria Girls villains, despite the fact that they will transport from Equestria to the human world, be my guess. But with so many villains that Friendship is Magic had from the one from 2010 to 2019, they did had some interesting developments and also menacing personalities. But when it comes to the main villain, we really didn't have an actual main antagonist other than seeing different antagonists for each season that come across, mainly from the beginning and from the end. And when we see Grogar, even though that we didn't get a lot of development from him and the fact that he came to the series a little too late, I honestly think that he's probably the perfect antagonist of the entire show of My Little Pony in general. Not just Generation 4, but in the earlier generations, even though that he wasn't part of the other generations, mainly from the second or third. I really think that's probably the development that they're trying to do if Grogar does appear or return in Generation 5. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be other villains in Generation 5, but not the same villains that we've seen from Generation 4. Because let's be honest, even though the villains in Generation 4 were a lot more interesting and really good to talk about them, I honestly think that having so many multiple villains is probably something that Generation 5 should avoid. Not saying that they should avoid like the plague, I'm just saying that they should probably have one villain and one villain only. Mainly the fact that Adventure Time had one main antagonist, and that was the Lich. Yes, I don't watch that show a lot, and yes, there might be some changes, there might be some materials that I don't see in that show, mainly when it comes to the villains. But what I actually see in Friendship is Magic with the variety of villains, it does work, and I can understand that they're trying to have the lands of Generation 5 a lot more different than the original. But if they're going to do that, they should probably have one villain and one villain only. Granted, it won't be a good idea, but if they execute it perfectly by having other villains be some kind of a focus, it will probably work out. Granted, they did the same thing with the other characters, other villains in the 9th season finale where they had to form together of the Legion of Doom, but I honestly think that Generation 5 is going to take a direction where they want to make the villain a lot more serious on why he's the only villain in the entire land. And even though that people are not going to like that there's not going to be a lot of villains in this, you need to remember that in the older generations, there was not really a lot of villains. Granted, I didn't see the screenshots, but I know full well by just watching the review of some of the reviewers from Bronies and how they could really talk about what they don't like from the earlier generations, I can really tell that there's barely any villains, and it's mainly about having a good time with ponies and stuff like that, which is something that Generation 4 avoided at all costs. And what we've seen involving Grogar being discarded the entire time really affects everything. And I really don't want to make a video, and I really don't have to make a video involving Discord's character changings to Grogar, because people have always discussed it, and I always discussed it in my The Ending of the End review last year. And when people completely make videos about how Discord was Grogar the entire time, as much as it's a great way to make videos off of, it's still not a topic that I'm really interested in, because it's a really difficult change that completely damaged Friendship is Magic for me, and it damaged my likability on Discord's character. A character that I actually enjoyed from the season 7 episode where he was just trying to do the same things that what Flashlight is doing, but end up disappearing. And then when we see this, I completely lost all of the likability I have from Discord. This is one of the reasons onto why having a single villain is probably the perfect idea, because if Discord was responsible with all this, then I honestly think that they're really, really delusional, and I'm talking about Discord, to even do most of this stuff, and the fact that Friendship is Magic is still catered to kids, which actually kind of suffers from the dialogue I've heard from Discord from the ending of the end, because it's hard to take it seriously, and it's really, really getting frustrating to the point that he doesn't get any consequences for what he did. I understand they're trying to do this for Discord fans, I get that, but when they actually see this, I do not understand how the fan base of Discord actually redeemed him. I mean, for what he did in the season 9 premiere where he completely blocked Flashlight from getting hurt, that was good. But when it was revealed that he was Grogar the entire time, that just really goes to show that everything that Twilight did really goes to show that she's really not ready to become a princess. Well, the ruler of the ruler of Equestria, not. She was already a princess, but you pretty much know what I mean. Anyway, these plots right here really affect everything in my perspectives of what I've seen from the other episodes from Friendship is Magic. Mainly the fact that Discord was Grogar the entire time, not to mention he was releasing villains. This is one of those examples that being more adult is really important than just trying to stick to children a lot. Granted, Friendship is Magic was starting off as a children's show, which does make sense. It was mostly PG when it comes to the Equestria Girls movie and the My Little Pony movie from 2017. But if you really want me to expect me to actually forgive all this, then you're really hammering on the forgiveness thing constantly. It doesn't usually work whenever I actually see ideals of this stuff, of people discussing about Grogar's character, and then when we end up what happened at the beginning of the end in the end, then it really makes most of the show's quality really meaningless and difficult to take it seriously. So I'm sorry. This is really difficult to actually get over. And when I said Grogar getting serious development in Generation 5, that is something that Hasbro needs to learn from the mistakes if they want to keep the fandom growing. And when they completely see the fandom growing with each passing year, then you need to actually think, we're not going to do this again. We're not going to have Grogar. We're not going to have one of the reformed villains be one of the newer villains. Otherwise, it will probably make everyone, including myself, well, not really the writer, but me, when I'm completely crawling the directors or writers or executives, we will get some serious backlash, and we do not want that to happen again. I don't know what people are going to actually, what the people who wrote the final episodes of Friendship is Magic felt when they saw the backlash, but if I did see them, they would probably really need to actually think a lot more better. Even though that season 9 was meant to be the final season, and Grogar was the villain, was the was the first character that made his debut in the 9th season. I really think that they've probably done a lot more better if they didn't have Discord be Grogar this whole time. So what do I actually want Grogar to see in Generation 5 if he does return? Be really menacing and also give him some kind of a purpose in front of the other characters. That is something that was so simple to do in Generation 5. Having the other characters meet Grogar the first time at the final episodes of Generation 4, and actually try to think of a strategy to take him down. Granted, there were other villains in the way, but at the same time, they couldn't actually do something interesting instead of that. Even if it was hinted that Chrysalis and the other villains are doing alliance with each other so that they can take down the main characters by themselves, it still doesn't change the fact. It just ruins what the ending could have been a really better climax. Granted, it couldn't be better than the other climaxes that we've seen from the other season's finales, but it could have been probably one of the best ones we've seen. Even if it was an Avengers Endgame reference, or the fact that they probably wanted to do so many great things involving the other characters, take some kind of a spotlight like the Student 6, it doesn't change the fact that Grogar was something that people have been looking forward to, and it's getting really repetitive where we had to go through other lessons that are just hammered in, like not every villain deserves to be redeemed. That just really goes to show that they don't even understand what they done wrong, like the Grogar thing. I think that this video has gone on long enough. This is pretty much my longest Generation 5 video I've made, and I really think that me talking about this was really a long time coming. Granted, I did all that ranting in my review of the ending to the end, but since I came up with the Generation 5 idea, I really think that this is really important, that people should actually see what Generation 5 should avoid at all costs. If you feel that Grogar should return in the newer generation, then comment down below, because I'm pretty sure that whether if you actually agree with me or not, you cannot deny that Discord really affects so many episodes from Friendship is Magic to me. I'm sorry, but that's really something that I cannot get over with, since that it's one of the final episodes, and the fact that Discord gets away with it, I think that the more of this is just not have all the villains who are redeemed forgiveness to be your best friend. That is something that Discord should have learned, especially the fact that there was so many times where Friendship's Magic is just hammering in lessons constantly, since that was mainly catered to kids. But in Generation 5, we can only hope that the adult audience will probably see a lot more interesting development with the characters than what we've seen from Generation 4. Not to say that all of them are bad, but mainly the ones that I'm referring to, and I'm talking about Discord. And I'm not adding Grogar because Discord was Grogar all along.